Hello and welcome to this very quick introduction to computational thinking. We're going to show you the four main strands of computational thinking and what they mean. Now this presentation has been adapted from one that we normally take out to secondary schools, but it should give you a really great foundation when you're talking to your children about computational thinking and programming. So first of all, what is computational thinking? So you can see there we've got a definition from BBC Bitesize, which I'm sure you've heard of. So computational thinking allows us to take a complex problem, understand what the problem is, and develop possible solutions. We can then present these solutions in a way that a computer, a human, or both can understand. So basically we're working out how to solve a problem and then we're writing the solution in a way so a computer can do the hard work for us. So we don't need to do all of that boring slog. Now, the four strands of computational thinking we're going to be talking about today are abstraction, algorithms, pattern recognition, and decomposition. Don't worry if you don't know what any of these mean, we're going to give you the basics right now. So first of all, we're going to talk about decomposition. So this is the process of breaking a complex problem into smaller component parts. This is probably something that you do every day without even thinking about it. So if you're ever helping your child with their maths homework, you've been encouraging them to break that down into smaller parts to make the problem a little bit more manageable. Again, if you've asked your child to clean their bedroom, they don't try and do everything all at once. They might start in this corner, they might start putting away their toys or whatever. So decomposition, again, is just breaking things down into those smaller component parts. So an activity that we do in the classroom and something that you could do at home is when we're thinking about creating a game, what sort of things do we need to think about? So you can do this with your child's favourite game. It can be a board game or a video game. Ask them what is the objective of the game, who are the characters, break it down to small pieces. You can also ask them to come up with their own video game as well and get them to start thinking, okay, so what are the important components that I might want to think about if I was designing a game? And moving on from that, we're going to talk about abstraction. So this is the process of removing unnecessary detail and simplifying. So abstraction is used to remove unnecessary detail from a real-world situation and to model a simplified result in an algorithm or program. And again, some real-world examples of this is driving is an excellent one. So in order for you to drive from A to B, you do not need to understand how a combustion engine works. You do not need to understand the program that decides whether or not the traffic light is red or green. The bits that you need to understand, start and go and steer in order to actually drive. And there's lots of information that you can take away to finish your actual task. And this is something that is really useful in programming, and it's also something that comes up quite a lot in teaching as well. So an activity that we like to do is this one. We show them this picture for about 30 seconds and ask them to draw it as quickly as possible, and then we can have a discussion about what did they draw and talk about what was important in this picture as they were drawing it. And that's a great way to start thinking about abstraction. Now we're going to move on to pattern recognition. Again, this would be really familiar to your children. They probably do exercises like this in class quite often, especially these sort of number sequences are definitely something they will have come across. But there's also patterns in everyday life. So here we've got a DNA sequence, and there'll be a pattern within DNA. We've got buses and talking about bus timetables. So that's the way to start talking about patterns and why they might be important. But also in things that you might not even realise that patterns. So if you're listening to a pop song, it tends to follow a pattern of verse, chorus, verse, chorus. That's another way of thinking of patterns, and even patterns within language, within the English language that we can pick up on. And finally, we're going to talk about algorithms and what is an algorithm. An algorithm is just a set of simple instructions that are done in a certain order in order to solve a problem. So there we've got an algorithm for making toast. All of these instructions need to be completed in this order in order to solve the problem of how to make toast. It's important to remember when you're writing an algorithm that the instructions need to be really simple, they need to be in the correct order, they need to be unambiguous. A computer can't infer things from context like we can, and they need to be relevant to the problem that you're trying to solve. You might want to start thinking about where you might use algorithms in everyday life. Now, this again has just been a very, very basic introduction to computational thinking, but we have got lots of activity packs on the website that go into this in more detail. And remember, Techno Camps will come to your school completely for free at any school in Wales. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, make sure that your school knows that we're available. Thanks.